How do you blend in and become a part of the world around you? Well, today we're going to explore the concept of gentleness in our attempt to soften ourselves and blend in with the world around us. Some people might say, Kristi, the wild isn't always gentle. Sometimes she's violent and angry and harsh. Well, that's true. And think about what happens when she is that way. Everything that can flees. It tries to run and get away, which is typically the response that the natural world has to most of us modern humans. Because most often our thoughts are violent and angry and aggressive, even though we might not think they are. Maybe we think, oh, sure, like you know, I'm a good person. I think good thoughts about other people, but it's really the inward thoughts and the conversations that we have, the busyness that goes on in our mind. And oftentimes those thoughts aren't always the most gentle and most kind. Well, let's try on an alternate way of being today and see how it goes. We're going to use two words that my teacher, Dr. Wu, shared with us from his Tai Chi and Qigong practices. I'm Kristi from Bird Mentor, where I help people connect more deeply with the world around them. This is the Mindful Bird Sit. Let's get started. So to approach those thoughts from a place of gentleness and just to observe them with the focus of gentleness, I think is a really great place to start. So we're going to do a couple things today. One, it comes from my teacher and my doctor, Dr. Wu, from Connecticut. He's my Chinese doctor. And I brought him up before in these sessions. And I'm going to do so again today. So he has this practice that he does every day where he says these three words to himself, and he does it with his breath. And so he says, let me let Jacqueline in. The words he says are, I am air, I am light, and I am water flow. He says water flow, but probably water flowing. But there's two other words that he says, and those are the other two that we're going to focus on today. And that is that I am nothing and I am everything. So like by being nothing, I am everything. So the two words that we'll focus on today are I am nothing and I am everything. And you can choose which order you want to say them with in. And my recommendation is to say one per breath. So for me, it's on the inhale. So like I am nothing, and then exhale and just let it be. And then inhale, I am everything. And then exhale and just let it be. And so you don't have to do that the whole practice, but when we're going to be silent for a lot of this. And when you're observing the world around you and something happens and you start to notice your thought, you're like, oh, I'm having a thought right now. Just track it and see, like, is this a gentle thought? Is this a soft thought? Or is this maybe a critical thought or a harsh thought, even about ourselves, and in particular about ourselves? Like if you're judgmental of yourself in that moment. And if you are, then just start to go through that practice. Bring yourself back to your breath and tell yourself, go say, I am nothing and I am everything. And just see what happens. We're just going to play with this. So we're going to spend probably the first good 5 or 6 minutes in silence, just to let a nice long period of silence expire, so that we can just deepen into this. So we'll start first with a sense meditation. So go ahead and get yourself comfortable, as you all are. Take a nice deep breath in and let it go. And push all the air out. Squeeze it, squeeze it, squeeze it out. And then just let your breath fly back into your body. Just notice the ease that the breath comes back in, rushes back into your body when you've squeezed it all out. And do that again. Go ahead and push all the air out of your body. And once it's all the way out, push, 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 then let it just rush and flow back into your body naturally and with ease. You didn't have to effort that breath back in. You just allowed it. So allow yourself to do that a couple more times. With each breath becoming more and more present in this moment. More and more still within. Begin by noticing the sensations on your skin. So whether or not you feel the sun or the chill of the cold, whatever it may be, you at least have some clothes on that you can feel. Maybe the touch of your sweater on your neck. Could be the waistband of your pants or skirt. And just allow these sensations to be without any judgment about them, just noticing, just taking stock. It's cold, or my skin feels cold. My skin feels the warmth of the sun. And then what would it be like to just allow yourself to become that sensation? So become the warmth of the sun or the coolness of the air. Let that sensation really permeate your body. And as your breath is starting to slow a little bit, now go ahead and send your awareness within your body, noticing your breath and the furthest reaches. How deep does your breath go and travel? What parts of your body can you feel your breath touching? See if on your next in-breath you can send your breath all the way to your fingertips and your toe tips, noticing how that might be different from the previous breath. Good work. And so now if your eyes were closed, you can open them and allow your gaze to fall on something that's, you can choose either something that's quite far away, you can stretch your vision this morning, but pick one point to focus on, or something that's a little bit closer, not quite a stretch today. And just let your eyes really focus on that one point. And then as if that point is right where a beautiful little pebble just dropped in the water, now you're going to allow your eyes to expand further, your vision to expand further and further out with each ripple. Remembering above and below as well as the right and left. And just see where the furthest reaches of your vision actually are. Can you stretch a little bit further beyond as well? And then just stay in this place of softened vision for the next couple of moments. Noticing who might show up on the landscape, even those that have been there the whole time that you may not have noticed when your vision was a bit more focused. And now that it's softened and expanded, now you start to notice it or them. And now, if you can, stay in this place of softened vision in owl eyes. And now we're going to send our attention to our ears and our sense of hearing. And first, we'll listen for the sounds that are the most prominent, the most evident on our landscape, the easiest ones to pick out, and just notice them, just kind of like they're a thought. Just notice, oh, mockingbird over there, or loud rumble over here, whatever it might be. And without any judgment about the sound, if you can, just take note of them to begin with. And for the sake of fun and play, to start us off with here, now go from the loudest sound, and as if you're at the top of a really tall water slide, and you're just going to allow your sense of sound to pick up the quieter and quieter and quieter sounds, like you're just riding that fun water slide down into quieter and quieter and quieter sounds. So you're just going to explore the landscape from the loudest sounds all the way down to the quietest sound. Whew, that can be a lot sometimes. There's a lot of sounds out there, and a lot we often tune out. So when we become conscious of them, consciously, intentionally trying to hear them all, it can be a lot to take in. So take a nice deep breath in and exhale. And so now we're going to start our period of silence. And just as a reminder that we'll just let yourself be present. You can stay in owl eyes if you like to. And if you notice a thought coming across your path, then just check in and see, is this a gentle thought I'm thinking right now, a soft thought? And if it's not, then you can bring yourself back to your breath using the phrase, I am nothing and I am everything with each breath. And again, you can choose whichever one you say first and just notice what starts to happen for you. Good work, everybody. So we'll continue on. And one other thing you can add to this is that if you notice the thought comes up, the first thing you can say to that thought is thank you. And then go into your I am nothing, I am everything breath. And so we'll spend another nice long chunk of time in silence. great. So nice and gently can come back to being together, and just begin by offering your gratitude and thanks or blessing to those ones that you connected with during your sit just now. All right, good work. So if anyone has to head out, then thank you for coming. So good to be here with you. And if you want to stay for our chat, then please do. So who would like to share any of their experience? And hi, Jackie, it's good to have you here. Yeah, Della, please.
Yeah. Well, this morning it's like, I don't know, listening and being quiet. It's almost like it attracted birds. And I've just got them so close this morning. That's why I was constantly kind of going like that one. I mean, I could feel the air from their wings as they buzzed by my head. And so it was like, that this practice attracted the birds closer to me. And the other thing was listening. As I was listening, I see that I hear a bird and I say, I think that's whatever. And then I check it out with my binoculars. And in fact, I'm correct. And it makes me feel so good. And I remember in our bird song class, which I've taken 3 times and plan to take again, because you can't learn enough about bird song. But I remember in that when I was struggling to recognize a gold-crowned sparrow. And this morning I hear the gold-crowned sparrow and I said, how could I miss it? It's so obvious. So I kind of, chuckle to myself about that. And looking forward to that birdsong class again so that I can distinguish some of the more difficult ones.
Yeah. Oh, right on, Della. What do you think it was? You were saying there's something about today's practice about sitting and in the way that we are. So what do you think it was that was different than what you might normally do? Or just, yeah, what comes to your mind about why you think the birds came closer today?
Well, I think it was because I was calm and because I wasn't, there was just,
You almost got hit on the head by one.
um, I think it was that I was calm and I'm sitting in a different place. They're not used to me sitting here at this time of the day. I sit here in the afternoons sometimes when it's sunny, but that might, they the spotted towhee came in and it was almost like, what are you doing here? So I don't know. I think it's being calm. And I wasn't trying to keep a list or I wasn't trying to see the birds or identify the birds. I was just here.
Isn't that so fascinating that like when we release that searching, that they all show up for us, you know? It's like we often go out, we have to like hunt the birds down to like try and find and look at them. But if we only just sat still more often, you know, how many of them would probably just come to us? Wow, what a beautiful example, Della. Thank you. Yeah, thanks so much. Mhm. Great. Who else would like to share? And whatever, it could be a very different experience than Della's, you know, just whatever your own unique experience is. Yeah, Joy, please.
I found it was interesting that my focal point was closer than usual. I found it much easier to stay in owl eyes for a longer time with a closer focal point. And I could see, in my peripheral vision, there were birds and other things happening in the environment. But I found that today that was okay. I just let them be, and even, I wasn't concerned at all about what they were or what they were doing. They were just all a part of the environment and part of the general scene out here. And there's bits of snow melting this morning and other things going on, but I just sort of let it all happen. So that was my experience today. So thank you, Kristi. That was great.
Yeah, Joy. Joy, when you say you looked closer, about how far away do you think your gaze was, if you could estimate?
Um, Probably maybe 10 yards,
Okay. Yeah. Yeah, that's, I mean,
maybe a bit, maybe a bit less actually.
they've found for people who do meditation on a regular basis, they've studied all this and they find that um, that by looking about 10 feet away, I think is the most comfortable for our eyes, where we don't have to really work at it. So typically looking closer is a place of like allowing your eyes to be a bit more relaxed. There definitely is a benefit, and it's a great experience to try to stretch and look really far off in the distance. I did that the other day when I was going for a run, my bird run walk, where I take my binoculars and I probably watch birds as much as I run, but I was really intentional with looking far away, because usually I'm just sort of like looking far enough to like where I'm gonna run. But then I was just really mindful, like I want to look far, and so I noticed certain things about the landscape and made decisions about where I was going to go, because I actually saw things. Like I saw a bunch of trucks down by the dock and I was like, I don't think I want to be down there with a bunch of people right now. But I probably would have gotten to the gate first before I had seen them before. But so anyway, there's some benefits to looking far, but also equally beneficial to look closer and to just allow ourselves to, like, when we, especially in this kind of practice, we really want to relax and just get soft. That's the easiest way to do it, where we just invite ease. We don't have to work and wrestle and struggle. It's just like, oh, just allow ourselves to just have it easy. So yeah, thanks for trying that on, Joy. Hmm. Beautiful. Who else would like to share? Yeah, Linda, please, and then Julia.
My share is more of a question today. I feel like when I was doing this today in particular, I could hear so much and I was seeing so much, but my curiosity just always gets the better of me. I just have um I'm like, I want to check out that sound. I heard a bunch of birds across the road and it was like a real cacophony, but it was across the road. And there's no way I could see it, but I was so curious. And so my whole attention started to focus on, okay, can I delineate at least a few of them? And I'm sure there were some finches in there and chickadees. And the same thing with when I see, if I'm in owl eyes, it was just more noticeable today that I do this. I saw things and I just, oh, I want to see what that is. Just like, so anyway, I'm not sure quite, I wasn't sure quite how to put those thoughts in perspective. I kind of put them in the, could be either, like fear of missing out or just natural curiosity, but it does pull me out. I tried to stay focused, but then I start to feel like I'm being resistant. I don't know. I have to kind of work that through. But I just thought I'd put that out there in case you or anybody else has any ideas about what to do with curious thoughts.
Hmm. Yeah, I think with any meditation practice, it's one of those things of just observing, not judging them, but just notice. It's like, oh, there's a thought, I'm curious right now. Yeah, I wonder what kind of bird that is. But rather than follow it, if the intention is to meditate and is to be quiet, rather than follow the thought of like, I wonder what that is. How is it singing? Is it doing this? Is it doing, instead of like letting your mind just kind of keep going on that train, then
Mm-hmm.
just to say, oh, I'm having a thought and I'm curious about that bird right now, but that's not
Mm-hmm.
what I'm doing. I'm sitting here and I'm just noticing. So thanks, thought. Like, that's cute. That's interesting. And I feel you for sure in that. I was meditating the other day and I was doing it right in front of my windows that were open, and there were birds talking outside, and I was just like, oh, interesting. No wonder why people used to go into caves, where there were like no sounds. Or I was just I watched something about this they found these chambers. I forget where it was recently. These chambers were found that were sort of like places where the priests of the time, used to go and meditate. And but they were these stone chambers, like, where like no sound came in. And it's like, yeah,
Uh,
it does take us to when there is no sound and no sight, and it's just dark and there's nothing to listen to, we can go to a different place. But
okay.
also I think it's you know, it's a different kind of challenge to be in total
Mhm,
darkness and total
mhm.
silence. But to be present, the whole time. It's sort of like, I guess, different intentions too. I again, I'm reading some more of George Buehrmann's book, and he's talking a lot in this particular chapter just about connecting and being invisible in nature. And so if the point is to sort of become more of that wild human and learn to walk on the landscape, with our our brothers and sisters of nature, um, then that's sort of a different, it's the same, but it's different, I think, the intention. And I suppose that's a little bit more of what we're doing here. We're not solely trying to meditate, but meditation is certainly helpful in
Mhm.
being like quieting those thoughts and quieting our mind, because it is that curiosity that will start, if we let it run too far, it does push nature away, because it's just all this thinking stuff going on up here,
Yeah.
you know? And
Mhm.
yeah, so it's I guess it's us. I'm speaking as I'm like thinking this out right now. So I think it's more of us being in control of our mind rather than letting,
Mhm.
like, I was talking to one of my good friends who is like a mentor to me, and she was just saying that, the brain is it's like the servant of our um I forget what she was saying, what, like our body or something else, but like we let our brain be the master in so much of our modern world, but really the brain is the servant, and we have to, or maybe don't have to say servant, but the brain is the one that needs to listen to and just sort of respond to the body, um, and like the heart, or the gut.
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
and so maybe for me, what I've been practicing more and more lately is when I notice my mind starts to take control, I'll just send my attention to my belly or to my heart,
Mhm.
and just really give my attention there and just let the one of those two sort of be in control in that moment,
Mhm.
you know. That
Yeah.
might just be interesting to, if you have more time today, just sit outside for another 10 minutes or so and just see what happens when that happens for you,
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. I like that idea. Bringing my focus to my heart and listening to my heart. But, and also, I am nothing, breathing, I am nothing, and I am everything. I found really did help. It
Mhm.
did help bring me back. So
Yeah.
thank you. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Thanks. That was an interesting, discussion or just curiosity. Anyone else have a thought about that? Yeah, Julia, please. It was your turn anyway. And then Susie.
Well, not about that especially, but the the breathing in nothing and then everything. I noticed it was kind of cool. On the everything, it's like the boundaries of my body got a little fuzzy. And so that was really cool. It was like I was maybe blending in a little bit, you know. So I like that. I'm going to try to pursue that. I have a story from this morning, and the wind is blowing furiously. It's just awful. And I get up and, I look outside and I see birds streaking past the window. It's just like something's going on, I start looking at, and it looked like there was some altercation, that birds were getting chased, and there was a female cardinal that was getting chased by some little birds and so on. And so then I start creeping around because they're all over the yard. And I find a window where I'm looking down at my water feature. Turns out they're fighting over taking a bath. Okay. So there's this one ledge that these little birds, I thought, are these sparrows? Because I have sparrows and they don't usually act like this, who were in there. and they're flapping their wings and taking a bath. And I see the yellow, and they're yellow rumped warblers. And I don't know how many there are. I saw 3 at a time taking a bath, but there were others around. I thought, wow. And so then I guess after they were done, I did see the female cardinal come and take a bath on that rock. There are a number of rocks that are not, the water's coming over and it's not very deep. It's nice for taking a bath, but that was their preference. And so I don't usually have yellow rump warblers in my yard. They're When I first saw these on a bird walk, the leader called them butter butts, like a pat of butter. But it was very obvious that yellow was showing, or otherwise I wouldn't have recognized them. So I think it's really fun that you mentioned them.
Yeah, yeah, that was the same with me this morning. They were just all there's, and I actually, it's interesting because I had a similar thought. Um, when the sprinklers go off, the little small road behind my house here, it's just like an alleyway. It's not really an alley, but you know what I mean. It's just like a little, that's what I suppose you call it, just runs behind the houses. Um, but the water runs off into the road and it creates this beautiful puddle and it's right out my window so I can watch all the birds come and take a bath. And they love it because it's like it's at the corner. There's a corner. I guess it goes this way more. It's a corner, and so there's a bunch of pine trees up there, and so it's just a perfect habitat. And right at the bottom of the corner is where all the water pools, and so it's just great for them to have quick cover and places to dry off. And so the birds just like literally like flock there, and it got me thinking because I often say to people, in particular my students, that I always try to get them away from their bird feeders when they're watching birds, in the course, because it's not typical in nature for birds to have like one source of food and then they're going to fight over that one source of food. But then I was watching this water feature, this, I suppose it's an unnatural feature because it's a paved road and whatnot, but there'd be puddles in nature too that maybe birds would go to. And I was like, oh, I suppose like, little water puddles would be a natural thing and that birds would probably all come. That's like one place where they would come and be all together, close together, and probably would vie for, who's tougher and who gets to be by the water feature right now and who doesn't. And yeah, so I thought, oh, that's kind of interesting. There is places in nature where birds, sort of vie for the hierarchy plays into that. Yeah, yeah. But thanks, Julia. And I love the blending in with the everything.
Mhm.
How they was just starting to blend, like the edges were blurring for you, you're saying. Yeah, what a beautiful place to be. Thank you. Yeah, Susie, you were going to share something. Here you go. I pushed the button for you.
Okay. Oh boy, I had a beautiful experience this morning with this. Um, first, first I thought that when the birds started coming, I thought, oh, they must really like Kristi's voice. I thought that's why they were coming. Then when I started doing the I'm nothing, I'm everything, I'm thinking, I don't get this. Why am I doing this? But I kept doing it and it just relaxed me so much. I was thinking uh, what nothing was and what's everything. And it just made me feel really good and calm, which I guess that was the purpose. But like, I felt like Della, there were so many birds here this morning. They were all talking. I heard I heard 12 different birds. Uh, uh, and that hasn't happened before. I don't know if it's the weather. Uh, it got really cold last night. It was almost 32 degrees. There was a freeze warning. But this morning was really beautiful. I'm sitting outside. It's not cold anymore. But I haven't been this relaxed for a long time. Really
Oh,
worked.
wow. Wow. That's really impressive and inspirational. And yeah, that's a similar experience that I have when I go through that process of it's like it's freeing for me to think about my and so in some ways it's like, no, I want to be something. What do you mean I'm nothing? Like,
Yeah.
no, that's it's like it affects my ego is like fighting that, you know? It's just like you can't tell me I'm nothing. Like I am something, you know? But then it's just like when you really do start to like let yourself settle into to that, it's just like, oh wow, that's a lot of freedom. It's a lot of freedom just to let go and just allow yourself to be nothing. And then
Yes.
what Dr. Wu says is by being nothing, you are everything, which is that blurred place that Julia was talking about, you know. That's when we really start to blend in, you know, and start to blur with whatever else is out there, you know. And yeah, it really those two words can be really powerful. They're really simple, but they're really powerful. They're really potent, you know. Yeah. Sweet, Susie. Thank you so much. That's awesome. Right on. Great. All right. Anyone else before we head out? Yeah, Jackie, please. Love to hear what you have to say. You're muted.
Um, yeah, I have never heard that particular prompt, and I've been meditating since my 20s with lots of different uh, traditions, and I just think that is so perfect for right now. You know, I just had a lot of tension, and uh, it is very freeing. It's it helps me get this much bigger perspective, and yeah, thanks so much for that. That's very. I'm going to keep using that a lot. I just, ooh, that's wonderful. Thank you.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. It's something that it's interesting because he those aren't words that like he says when he does the three words. I'm not sure if you were here when I was saying that he so the words he says it every day to himself. He says, I am air, I am light, and I am water. In which each one he does a breath, you know, it's like he takes the time to pause after each one. But then he went on to explain, you know, he started talking about this concept of being nothing and being everything. And I thought, huh, I think I want to actually start to incorporate that because I've been doing those three as like a mantra, like every time like to let my brain. That's what my friend who's my mentor was saying to me. She was like, you know, you have to when you're meditating, you have to give your brain something to like do, like, you know, or else it's going to want to be in charge. So just give it a job, like give it a job, let it focus on something. And so the job I was giving it was to focus on those three words: I am air, I am light, and I am water flowing. And and then I thought, I think I'm going to add the other two, and I'm just going to add I am nothing and I am everything, and just sort of see what occurs with that. And it's interesting to play with those two words and to let one of those be the last one you say. Like when you, if you end with everything versus end with nothing, it's just it's a little different, you know. Each word is a little different. They're both really the same. It's like the yin yang kind of like image, like nothing and everything. They really are the same thing, but they're also different and unique in and of themselves. And so yeah, I really started to enjoy just watching what happens with those two words in myself. Yeah. Yeah, thanks, Jackie. I'm glad you had that experience, and thanks for sharing that. Yeah.
Thanks, everyone.
Yeah, yeah. Thanks, y'all, for coming today, and just and thank you to the world for you know, for the natural world, for one, for you know, giving me this that word to focus on today with the gentleness, just seeing where this would take us all, and all the birds that are. It sounds like lots of birds are moving into everyone's home area right now, and you get to be with them. So big gratitude and blessing to all the birds on their way right now, wherever they're traveling to, and you all. I hope you have beautiful, safe days today, and keep letting these words percolate into your experience. All right, and we'll see you soon.
Yeah. Thank you very much.
Oh yeah, and have a beautiful it's the Day of the Dead on Saturday, and I know Halloween also is coming up, and there's various traditions. My friend just reached out and said that she's married to a gentleman from Mexico, and they have the traditional practice of Day of the Dead, Dia de Muertos, and they set up an altar where they honor the ones who had passed in their family and just remember them. And that's a tradition I used to do also with this one teaching where we get together with a bunch of friends and everyone cooks a meal from someone in their ancestry and then you share it. And it
Mm.
takes a long time, actually. It's a very beautiful, long sort of ritual you can do together with people you know, and where everyone tells the story of the dish and that ancestor who made it. And so you get to learn a
Ah.
lot about people that you think you know really well, but maybe you've never heard these stories before. So anyway, even if you just do it for yourself and just maybe cook a dish that one of your ancestors made, and the rule was that from the teacher who taught us this that you're not supposed to taste it, that the ancestors are supposed to have the first bite. So you put a little bit of food outside for them on a little dish, and they get the first bite. So you're not supposed to taste it, which is really nerve-wracking. I know for a lot of people of like, oh gosh, I'm supposed to, but yeah, just trust it. Ask your ancestor for help if you're cooking it, and just be like, all right, Nanny, like guide me as I make this thing. I don't know how to do it. And then just serve it to someone or eat it yourself, and just think about them and take that time to remember those ones that have gone before. Yeah, yeah. All right, everybody, have a really beautiful week.
You.
Okay, see you soon.